every problem Golem Necro had fixed. No Holy Bolt Abuse, tier 104 of the pit clear, increased survivability, Shadow Blight uptime is permanent now, and all in all streamlined the whole gameplay loop to make it even more fun. Now what do I mean with no Holy Bolt Abuse? There is this elixir of the Holy Bolts that shoots out damage after someone dies. And for some reason with Necro, because of the Shadow Blight key passive and the Shadow Blight aspect, the whole thing double dips and overscales with minions and does gabillions of damage. But I decided to push as deep as possible without this, to prove that the build is truly good and not just an elixir. Now the new gameplay loop will have you smile all the time. You're blood misting in, yes you heard right. Then your blood mist is automatically casting corpse explosions over an aspect we mentioned in the gear section. This spreads blight, and that blight actually stacks Shadow Blight tremendously. But not only this, it reduces the cooldown because of lucky hit chance and the aspect itself of your blood mist, so you have it straight away up. Easy engagement. Then you corpse channel everything together into that pool of blight, trigger your skeletal priest, so the aphotic aspect makes your skeletal warriors have shadow damage, even more Shadow Blight stacks. You have a permanent 240% uptime, and the bonus lucky hit allows your curse to crapify to really reset the golem and your army of the dead so quick. It's like we're getting immense cooldown reduction and overwhelming the competition. And while you're in a boss fight, you essentially have Blood Mist always up. And here's a very crucial trick. You should always activate Blood Mist to stack as many corpse explosions below the dude as possible for the Shadow Blight key passive to stack up super fast. But if you use Blood Mist and then Army of the Dead afterwards, the lucky hit chance of Army of the Dead will also reduce the Blood Mist super quick, just in case you really need it up fast against these pesky boss echoes. And that's a great gameplay loop of Blood Mist, Army. Blood Mist, Army. So while the army's up, even more cooldown reduction. This means we had to change some things in the skill tree. First 2 points in Reap and Enhanced Reap, then 1 single point in Living Energy and 3 points in Hoot Flesh, and that 1 point is simply needed that we can go to the next board. Here is 1 point in Blood Mist together with Enhanced Blood Mist and Ghastly Blood Mist for the bonus corpses. We still play 3 points in Spiked Armor, and I'll get to that in a second, it's really good. Then 1 point in Corpse Explosion, not more needed, with the Blighted Corpse Explosion. The 3 points in Grim Harvest are unnecessary at this point, as I actually do notice, because we're not using Essence anymore apart from the Curse. Then we get 3 points in Death Embrace with the damage reduction as we're close to save us from pesky one hits, 3 points in Amplify damage, 1 point in Decrepify with the Abhorrent Decrepify, and all in all 10 points in total Mage Mastery at this point. That's a nice little bonus damage boost. We don't have anything into Death Approach because more movement speed doesn't really help me as I'm trying to push deeper into the pit. Now these 2 points could just go into more movement speed if you feel like it. On the other hand, I have a better plan. Right now we have 1 point in Corpse Tendrils together with a Plague Corpse Tendrils, 1 point in Necrotic Carapace, and this is more than enough because you're spawning corpses with Army of the Dead, and that keeps you permanently fortified with Necrotic Carapace. Now what we do have is 1 point in Reaper's Pursuit, 3 points in Gloom because that increases the damage of our minions, right? Then we have 0 points in Terror because this is only against stunned and slow targets, which doesn't actually work against bosses, so I found these points unnecessary. What you could go for is Crippling Darkness. This would increase the stun duration and make going through the dungeon even easier, as you have your shadow damage happening from the corpse explosions now, and that can actually stun, bonus stagger, and everything. On the other hand, these 2 points might as well be used to just push up Corpse Explosion further, that you have a better cooldown reduction. Right now I have 7 ranks in total in there with my gear, which brings me down to 18.1. That makes it even more up and makes it easier to Blood Mist always. Lastly, down here, 3 points in Inspiring Leader with 7 points in Hellbound Commander. Really good, stand close to your minions with the Blood Mist. Now, yes, Hellbound Commander needs you to stand close to your minions, and that can be annoying, but if I'm Blood Misting, I'm actually close to them because I'm actually in them. And lastly, the Shadow Blight key passive because Count's Edict is only good for leveling. Now to the gear, and you'll love this, 41,000 life. And that might be a bit overdoing it. I'm at 60,000 if I take both potions, and that would be the Elixir of Fortitude and the Elixir of Anti-Venom. This helps me to not get randomly one hit by normal mobs. I still die to the boss echoes, so if you actually get hit by the red energy, you pass out, but you can tank 1 to 2 hits from everything, which is quite good. Now, what did greatly change? First, we put on a new weapon, currently a sword. Scythe is still better for the higher damage ceiling, but this one had a maximum life greater roll, and I really wanted to boost this up. The intelligence is a little bonus for more elemental resistance, but I didn't really need it. Life on hit, we did play for temerity. I would prefer critical strike chance right now. Very important is the minion attack speed tempering to be as high as possible. I do have summoning damage on it because I couldn't get golem damage. I would prefer golem damage. Then we changed our rings. Yes, our rings now have attack speed, and that has a very good reason. First, ultimate cooldown reduction on it instead of golem cooldown reduction. I would prefer golem cooldown reduction, but ultimate doesn't hurt. Golem damage, max life intelligence. Intelligence could be crit chance or crit damage. The second ring is still the old one with crit chance, critical strike damage, ultimate cooldown reduction, and golem damage. Again, would prefer golem cooldown reduction. And very important, I would also prefer attack speed on this one. And I'll get to that in a second because you can see that my frenzied aspect with a 45% is now on my ring. With these two items having attack speed, we currently have a bonus of 16.7 on myself and 37.3 on the minions with Paragon and the tempering. That together, if we pull out the calculator, is 16.7 plus 37.3, and we get 54%. That with the 45% from the frenzied is almost the 100% cap. So I literally just have to temper one more item a bit further, and I'm suddenly having that 100% attack speed cap for the Cult Leader node. And that allows me to put the aspect of reanimation on my amulet. Boom, easy life. With ultimate cooldown reduction, golem damage, and 4 ranks in Hellband Commander. That one is huge. The bonus ranks in Hellband Commander on Amulet must have way too good damage scaler, even though you have to stand close, but we fixed that problem. Now the boots have an incredible tempering that I thought was a fail. Movement speed during Blood Mist, 50% increase. I thought this would be stupid and not good. But one thing some of you might have forgotten, Blood Mist doesn't reduce movement speed anymore. So Blood Mist is a net total same of movement speed as your normal movement speed. So this is straight up a 50% increase. And you're just zooming during Blood Mist, allowing you to go wherever you want to go. And it gives you a dopamine hit because you're like, phew, phew, whenever you activate it. Plus scale to Warrior Mastery and make sure your boots have the triple evade. I am really suffering from not having triple evade. It sucks. Then we're playing new pans, and they're not temerity anymore, as much as I would like temerity. But Blood Mist triggers corpse explosion on the surrounding corpses. Yes, and triggering those corpses gives you also cooldown reduction. This is total armor tempering, skeletal mage mastery. Yes, possible on the pants, maximum life intelligence, or armor, whatever you actually do need there. With my gloves still being the perfect ones that I've ever found on crit chance, critical strike damage, mage mastery, golem damage, and corpse tendril size. And there's one very good thing I didn't even mention about the attack speed that you might see in the background. If you do actually have attack speed yourself on the gear, then your summonings for getting the 5 stacks of Flesh Eater when you're spamming the Skeletal Priest are happening faster. Everything is happening faster, essentially. Now there's the Aphotic Priest tempering on your gloves, which makes your Skeletal Priest do shadow damage and a bonus stun. And that is your second trigger for the Shadow Blight key passive. Now you could take this off, and we could play the Blood-Soaked aspect, where Blood Mist leaves behind a trail of shadows, which gives you even more movement speed, and that trail of shadows would also trigger Shadow Blight, so you'd had a corpse explosion plus the trail shadows plus movement speed. That being said, the Blood-Soak would only be active when you're Blood Misting, where the Skeletal Priest empowers my warriors to do shadow damage is always active. And that seems a little bit better, because there's, well, 5 of them, because there's 6 of them, and they're mashing continuously. On the chest piece, Golem Mastery, obviously. Maximum life, Barrier Generation is not needed anymore, so that one could be replaced through a Blood Tempering. And here it gets very interesting because we got Blood Mist Duration and Blood Mist Cooldown Reduction. So you can make your Blood Mist last longer, and that's by 30%. What? Yes, your puny Blood Mist that actually lasts for 3 seconds. But we get a 30% increase, then temper this further up to a 50% increase. Could be ending up to have like a 4.5 second Blood Mist. And for every second, the Blood Mist makes a corpse. Plus, the longer you're in the Blood Mist, the more corpses your explosion for the corpse explosion thingy. That's huge. That's not a small, that's huge. Now, lastly, I found something amazing yesterday, and that is a Greater Affix Maximum Life Harlequin Crest. Now, I did tell you this is completely useless for this build. I just put it on because of peer pressure. It is useless. Why though? Because the +4 rings don't do anything for this build. So I have this off right now, and my Golem Mastery, for example, is 7 out of 3. This does not get influenced. The only thing that gets influenced is Decrepify, Corpse Tendrils, and Blood Mist. The good thing though is that Blood Mist is currently at a 22.2 second cooldown. And if I put on the Harlequin Crest, I go down to an 18-second cooldown. So it does do something. But instead of the Harlequin Crest, you could also go for a helmet that just does maximum life, armor, and cooldown reduction. This is important. I need cooldown reduction. And then instead of Barrier Generation, again, we could be going for the Blood Mist Tempering, which is way more fun. Book of the Dead, we're playing the cooldown reduction, guys. Now there's one bug currently where the Corpse Reapers get both effects. So they make corpses and they get the cooldown reduction. It's a bug. Choose if you want to use it or not. That's on you. Skeleton Mages give me bonus damage. You could go for the double attack, but we kind of fixed the Shadow Blight key passive thingy, so the bonus damage is just simply better. And the Golem is still the Blood Golem, triple damage super whacker for the trillions and gazillions of damage. Now, Paragon Board did get very tricky, but we managed to squeeze out quite something nice. Sadly, we have to go for quite some resistance nodes, so that did cost us. We're starting with Darkness. That increases the shadow damage of me and my minions. My minions would be the Warriors and the Mages doing more damage now. With the multipliers, pretty good. And whenever you or your minions deal shadow damage to an enemy, 10% damage reduction. Fantastic. Followed up by the Bone Graft board. Seems weird, but makes sense because you can slap in the Amplify glyph here to get more resistance to all elements, and it's really easy to actually activate it as you're going through. Plus, maximum life on the Tenacity, because that is 8%, 10%, 12% more life. This goes into the Cult Leader board. Here you're flying through with a Debt Razor glyph into the Cult Leader for the maximum attack speed 150% multiplier. With in the middle the summoning damage and the attack speed, these two nodes are not worth it because the Skeletal Warrior armor and the resistance is wasted. Then we're going to the Golem board, and this is the shortest route I kind of found so far. You're going in from the bottom, you're taking all the Dexterity glyphs, boom, activate Territorial for another 10% damage reduction as you're close to someone, and we're mostly close to someone, right? Then the Golem damage, plus the Golem multiplier. And lastly, I do enjoy the Borrowed Strength. This is more damage while Golems is active, and it says while Golems are active, so it might mean that we get in the future more than one Golem. And then we can take the bonus armor nodes. Now, if you have enough armor rolls on your gear, you could say screw these two, and you could take the damage nodes instead, which is really interesting. If you don't have enough armor, you take the armor nodes. If you have enough armor with one, you take the damage node. So this is interchangeable for you. Gets followed up by the Bloodbath board. This is the perfect dexterity board to get 44 dex for more critical strike damage, and that critical strike damage multiplier is important for your minions, plus damage while fortifying. And then lastly, the two boards are going to be Flash Eater and Send of Death. With Flash Eater having the Corporal glyph in for the bonus movement speed and more resistance to all elements, you ignore the damage to elites because I don't have the points. And then you're going into the Send of Death board, where at least two corpses are nearby, damage reduction or damage. My problem right now is that I don't have many willpower points activated for Golem. So you can see it's 30 out of 25 willpower. And that's why I'm saying if I could get rid of these 2 points in the armor because I armor out a little bit. And maybe I could even cut this 8.5% Golem damage because every point of willpower is actually 19.8% more Golem damage. And easily there with 3 more points, I could activate another willpower, and then we could almost activate another willpower to put this up to 42. So if I could weasel out now one single point somewhere, and technically I would want to weasel out elemental resistance, and this is possible because we're still 70, 70, 70, 70, then I could get another willpower, making this now 166.3%, which brings us to a net total of 2,252 Golem damage. That's not a lot, but considering that I have a summoning damage tempering here instead of the Golem damage, because that would be another 280% plus. Now it's only 143 that goes on everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I did get you convinced on the new build, but if you're now bored of Minion, how about Bone Spirit, which does up to 237 million critical strikes with a single Bone Spirit? Or rather, general Season 4 tips if you're still stuck in the leveling journey, but there's a new one of those coming very soon with infinite resplendent sparks and other shebang. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop by on the live streams. Appreciate it.